Welcome to Celebrity Soul Speak with Brian and Renee, Season 4, Episode 48, Jeffrey Epstein.
We may think they're gone, but they're still very much with us, listening, watching, stepping in to help us navigate this Earth adventure. Often I'm contacted by souls when I'm watching a documentary about them or listening to a song they perform. After I watched Jeffrey Epstein's documentary, he contacted me. This is our conversation. January 20th, 1953, Jeffrey Epstein was born in Brooklyn, New York. He was a talented student who excelled in mathematics and was a skilled pianist. He became a financier worth millions who had ties to celebrities, politicians, and royalty. Epstein was also a pedophile, sex addict, and sex trafficker. He passed in 2019 in New York, but not in a fancy mansion. He died at the Metropolitan Correction Center after being convicted of sex trafficking and conspiracy to engage in sex trafficking. His death, as his life, was controversial. He was found hanged in his cell. Was it suicide or something else? Many theories still swirl this day that he was murdered. You'll hear from him what really happened. Jeffrey says, "Hello." "Well, hi, Jeffrey." Jeffrey says, "I see that you have an interest in the time I spent there as Jeffrey." "Yeah, I have an interest in every soul." Jeffrey says, "Well, it's good that you're open-minded and understand the way things work." "Well, what I understand is that we're all souls that form a larger spirit, pieces that form the whole. The part of your soul that became Jeffrey Epstein was tasked to do something particular here. The fact that it was an unpopular area that you dabbled in doesn't make a difference. That would be judgment. You did what you did for a reason, and that's all. That's how I see it." Jeffrey said, "Very good. You have been listening." "Well, I'm mainly interested in the correlation between your time here, your transition, and your life as it is now." Jeffrey said, "You'll do well when you get here. You already have a huge piece accomplished. Judgment is very hard to overcome." "Yes, and I'm not perfect. I have to rein in the judgment part of me when it's not acceptable." Jeffrey said, "How can I help you?" "Well, first, do you have any questions about what I'm doing?" Jeffrey said, "No. It's well known that you're trying to help us communicate with the human race on Earth." "Yes, my mission here is to be a conduit to relay messages from your side to ours and to help those here who have loved ones who have passed the opportunity to communicate with them." Jeffrey said, "That is great. Don't be discouraged. If you keep your intent, you will realize the reward." "I'm trying. So, what was your mission? Why did you come here?" Jeffrey says, "Karma, as we all have. It's part of our makeup to have both positive and negative experiences, although to us, they are only experiences. This experience was memorable. I've not experienced anything else as grand." "Oh, so you're just a good old spirit having experiences?" Jeffrey says, "Pretty much sums it up." "So does your base, what I guess you say is spirit, what is the personality? There are so many different lives. How does that work?" Jeffrey said, "We're only pieces in the whole picture." "Oh, like puzzle pieces?" Jeffrey laughs. "I guess you could look at it that way. It's no different than your composition. You have your controller, so to speak, like the ego, that all feed into one main decision maker. That is God, and we're all God. We're also only a part of the bigger picture. There is no limit. Consciousness is infinite. Every piece is just part of the larger whole." "Okay, so did you just learn this, or did you have an inkling when Jeffrey was here?" Jeffrey said, Jeffrey didn't think about anything but his penis. You saw the show. It's all true." "What was Jeffrey here for? What was the purpose of that his behavior served?" Jeffrey said, "Wake-up call. It's always a wake-up call. The yin to the yang. You have to have evil to balance. There has to be awareness of the danger of human life. That's why we come there, to show you that it is real. There is bad and evil. There has to be. And I chose to take that. I needed it for myself as well as humanity. This was my balance. And I hope that somewhere someone saw or heard about Jeffrey and either got themselves or a friend out of a bad situation. I was there to teach. What lessons did you learn, and what do you have to pass to mankind? Jeffrey says lessons would be that there are people who truly have an evil core. That is their job, and it's your job to make sure you stay away from those energies. You know when something isn't right. You know when something is bad for you because your intuition kicks in and tells you, but you choose to ignore it. I watched the show. I saw from this perspective how easy it was to lead young women into lives that, well, all lives are predetermined, but are also malleable as to the meat in the sandwich. You always have a choice, and you could choose to bypass this experience and go in a different direction. It depends on what your needs are. It's a very complex puzzle. Oh, I can see. So Jeffrey fulfilled an item on his list, and humankind receive a warning, a rebel yell to wake you up from the mindlessness that we slip into. Pay attention. What are your kids doing? Jeffrey said yes. And for mankind, there will always be evil, and there will always be a life path. You don't always have to take the road ahead. You can veer from the highway. Just be sure. Listen to your intuition. Teach your children. If it doesn't feel right, don't do it. Great conversation, but I do want to ask a few things about Jeffrey. Did he die at his own hand, or was he murdered? Jeffrey said no, he did it. There was no way out. He had called in every favor, done everything he could to get out of trouble, but he was done. And he wasn't going to spend the rest of his life in prison. He was a very powerful person there, but even he admitted there was no way out of it for this. So this was the only option. As still a human, right before you passed, did you realize that what you had done in this life was unacceptable to this society? Did you have any remorse? Jeffrey said no. I lived this life the way I wanted. The people I associated with were aware of what was happening and consented. I never raped anyone. Why would I? Yes, they were young of age, but knew what they were doing. They benefited from my appetite. Many made a lot of money, and I schooled quite a few. I took care of these people, and in return they satiated me. The problem is that humans are not willing to take responsibility for their actions. Blame someone else. Yes, that seems to be the way it is with many. Well, Jeffrey, thank you for speaking with me. I'm always available to talk if you think of anything else. Jeffrey says thank you.
Thanks for joining us. Join Celebrity Souls Speak on Facebook at facebook.com/The Celebrity Souls Speak. And check out Renee's blog at commonsenseinwilmingtonnc.blogspot.com. Sense spelled CENTS.